just, okay, we're gonna call this meeting to order at 7:38 p.m. This is the reorganization meeting of the Shade Tree Commission of the Borough of Fairhaven in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being held in person through Zoom, being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 River Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this meeting on January 8th, 2025 is available by call-in number or through Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until it is time for question and comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question, comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise hand button. You will be called upon at the appropriate time. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press, Two River Times, and Star Ledger on December 30th, 2024, posted on the Borough website, bulletin board of the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as required by statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Shade Tree Commission Secretary is directed to include this statement in the minutes of the meeting. Roll call. Leah Bigani. Here. Peter DeGotti. Absent. Mike D'Angelo. Who's joining by Zoom? Not yet. Mike Hoey. Absent. Chris Larson.
Here.
Chris McCabe. Absent. Kevin McGovern is absent. Jill Sullivan. Here. Bonnie Torcivia. Here. You have a quorum. Also present, Councilman La Barbera and Borough Secretary Christy Larson. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Copy of the agenda and
It's by Steve.
oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
We'll now have a chairperson and vice chairman, chairperson appointment for 2025 Shade Tree Commission. The floor is open for nominations for chair.
I nominate Chris.
Thank you, Jill.
Any other nominations? Okay, roll call vote for Chris Larson as president, chairperson. Leah Bigani,
Yes.
Chris Larson.
Do I vote for myself? Can I say it? Yes.
Yeah. Jill Sullivan,
Yes.
Bonnie Torcivia.
Yes.
Okay, Chris, you may open the nominations for vice chairperson.
Well, I nominate Mike D'Angelo.
Here. He said he was joining momentarily.
He said he did text me. He said he was on a work meeting,
Um,
that it was wrapping up soon.
Do we
Does he have to be
consent?
present?
Do we need his consent?
I think so, yeah.
Oh,
So why don't we table that matter and the chair can run the meeting as the agenda states?
okay. Yep, sorry. All right, then approval of the prior meeting minutes. Everybody had a moment to peruse those. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
No.
No? All right. Make a motion to approve the prior meeting minutes. Second. Second?
Yep.
Minutes approved. All right, we're gonna move on to project updates, the NJUCF tree inventory grant. Jill, any updates or?
Yeah, I guess so, since we missed December. Since then, we had our second training, which went well, I would say. Like, I think that, it really kind of got more down into the usefulness from the perspective of like the DPW and exactly how they would be able to use it. It was more, about, how to do work orders, how to log maintenance, how you would put in a tree, how you would change something from, if a tree was removed, how you would identify that. And I did step out of that like 15 minutes early, but it seemed to be well received. What I haven't done is actually followed up with them afterwards and seeing how they're using it.
Okay.
But for all intents and purposes, this grant is closed at this point, or we submitted the final
Yes.
paperwork for it to be closed. Christy, we got that email today. I didn't click through on it.
Yeah, they accepted my final progress report. They said it takes about 4 weeks for the reimbursement to come through.
So it's closed on their end, but we need the money.
Okay.
So, but from our purposes of like work that needs to be done, we're done.
Good and done.
Yeah,
The
so,
borough paid Arbor Pro, so the vendor is whole. It's just being reimbursed.
So who is the person really in charge of the computer, maintaining that?
um, there's-
Updating the inventory?
well, I mean, we have access to it as a shade tree commission, I mean, I personally have access to it. And Chris, you have access to it, and Christy has access to it. We get 10 users. And then everybody on the DPW has access to it. So for example, Nick and his team would be responsible for any updates that pertain to like, they planted something, or they did some maintenance on it, or they removed something, or they identified a problem. It's their responsibility to maintain the inventory in that way.
So Nick is.
Well, I mean, but if we went ahead and we planted trees from our initiatives, like street trees, like
Mhm.
public trees. I mean, we would go ahead in there and update what we were doing.
I was wondering, just for control purposes, to make sure that like there's one person that everybody gives everything to and they're.
No, that's not the method.
Okay,
Because it's a real-time cloud-based system. So if you're there planting a tree on Arbor Day, you could, like, the Shade Tree Commission should own updating that. Just,
Okay.
and it, if somebody's in the field and they, do maintenance on that tree, they can actually update it live from their phone on the spot what they did.
okay,
So even though Nick will be controlling who gets assigned what to do, like it's not, he could allow his team to actually use the software in real time. So. But that's, we can run reports from it, like we would be able to see in the future, like exactly what's happening in the town in terms of maintenance, plantings.
do you think,
Removals.
are we gonna use that as a tool to identify planting locations?
Yes,
Okay, so who's gonna,
so
how do we do that? I
So a
guess?
planting
Yeah.
location can be identified in the same way that you would put a tree in the inventory. So, by a GPS coordinate, you could say, all right, on Third Street, here is a place that could be a good spot for a tree. So much so that you could even say what type of tree you would recommend for that location. So that's not something obviously that we would just let anybody do.
Mhm.
But definitely, if something comes down, you could replace that tree with a planting location, like it could be identified like with a point on the map saying, this is a place that we might want to put a tree. So, that could evolve over time. We didn't have the budget for the Arbor Pro people to go through and actually identify planting locations that they would recommend, because we had a certain amount of units that we were budgeted for. So every time that they put something into the system, that counted as one. So we had a budget of like, I believe it was like 2,300 locations, and they gave us a few extra, maybe it was 2,600. Which allowed them to identify, all the public trees, the street trees and the park trees, not, the natural areas. But we had nothing extra in order for them to go through and identify like planting locations, which was something we talked about, but
Yeah,
it's just
how
wasn't.
much more was that, do you remember?
Well, it could be
Yeah.
infinite,
Yeah.
like, if they walked down the street and there was like boom, 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 it's just.
Well, I guess I was just thinking, because we have to redo this community forestry management plan, right? And a big part of that is the planting plan.
Mhm.
And I kind of thought that we were using this inventory, one of the reasons to get the inventory was to identify where to plant trees. right?
Yeah, of course they can be, but that's like-
That we can print out, and you can,
Say that again, sorry.
there's so many mapping tools in the software that we can print out, so you can visibly see.
All the trees.
But yeah, but Bonnie, part of like, if you're thinking about this in terms of like coming up with the management plan, like it. There's nothing stopping us from saying in that management plan that we can't use this tool to achieve a planting plan. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that would be part of like maybe year one of the 5-year plan or something like that.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
well, I guess Sherry would be, she would be identifying
she-
places too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a cost associated with somebody walking through the town and and identifying like
Yeah.
every location where we could plant a tree. So I think that we need to think about this like. Holistically, I guess, you know, like what would be the best approach to that, but it's available to us. And I think that it's, you know, from our perspective, it could be really useful in like, projects that we want to do, like if we wanted to focus on, you know, McCarter Park, which I know we planted trees there recently, and we've had a lot of discussions about what to do in that like back area. Like this could be a tool that we use to map out what our vision was for a project that we want to do. Like that would be, and you could separate it within the software to say, okay, this is the McCarter tree or McCarter Park planting project. And kind of identify what that might look like, which could include the maintenance of the existing trees, removal of existing, you know, problem trees, the plantings that, you know, it could be, you could put a whole like plan within this, you know, this program. You know, so, you know, there's a lot of ways that it could be sliced and diced.
Great.
Yeah, it's good. Like, I'm pleased with how it turned out. Like, I think it's useful. It's, you know, and I just hope that, you know, they find it to be a useful tool to.
Yeah.
Well, I just hope
Keep it updated.
Yeah, exactly, keep it updated.
Right, yeah. So anyway,
Um,
I think that could come off the agenda finally.
Yeah. Are you sure, Joe? Only been in 3-4 years, whatever, you know, crossing it off. Here you go. Look at you. Congrats. Well done.
Mike. Oh,
Nope, there is. Should we revisit the
Yes,
co-chair vote? In your absence, Mike, I did nominate you for co-chair.
I second that. Is that?
Jill seconds
Yeah.
that. All in favor? All opposed?
any other nominations? All right, Mike D'Angelo for Vice Chair of Shade Tree, roll call vote, Leah Begani,
Yes.
Peter's absent, Mike D'Angelo,
Abstain.
Mike Hoy's absent, Chris Larson,
Yes.
Jill Sullivan,
Yep.
Bonnie Torsavia.
Yes.
Congratulations, Mike.
Thank you, and sorry I'm late. I was on another meeting.
All right, forgive you. All right, moving on to the Community Forestry Management Plan and Green Communities Grant. We received 3 quotes to update our management plan. Our current tree experts firm came in at $8,900. They were the highest. Second was Arbor Pro at $7,500. And Mr. Bill Brash came in at $5,000. $5,000 is also the amount of the Green Communities Grant. So it's a nice offset if we can get it. But either way, they are the lowest responsible bid. My understanding is that Mr. Brash already did our management plan in the past, so I am recommending that we move forward with Bill Brash to do this management plan.
You don't necessarily have to do lowest responsible.
Okay,
Over 6,600, you have to have at least more than one,
one,
and then pick one of the two.
okay,
You only go lowest responsible, and correct me if I'm wrong, is when you go out to bid. Doesn't change anything, but just
Sure.
make sure that we're.
okay, yeah, I appreciate it, all right. But I'm comfortable with him, I had some email exchanges and a brief phone call with him, so and like I said, he's already done it once, so I think it makes sense to move forward with him. Christie, procedure, do we vote to move forward with him or,
Yes.
okay?
Would
Motion
you like to
to
make a motion to?
make a motion to vote for Mr. Bill Brash to update our community forestry management plan.
Second,
Oh,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Are we roll calling? or
I was roll calling.
Okay, yes.
Mike D'Angelo,
yes.
Chris Larson,
yes,
Jill Sullivan,
Yes.
Bonnie Torsidio.
Yes.
Okay,
alrighty.
we'll reach out to
And-
Mr. Brash to get a.
He's not writing the grant though, right?
He's not writing the grant, so Christie and I had, we did look over the grant and we did discuss it on a recent road trip. And we thought maybe we would, take a crack at it ourselves. However, we do, would appreciate if anybody, has some time and would be willing to help. I wouldn't even look at you. Don't worry, I'm not.
Have you asked Chris York?
To.
I don't know, he's just like a grant writer. He's
Right,
writing a
right.
grant for the bird sanctuary. I mean,
It-
he's so, I guess he's very good at it. I don't know if he might help you that time, but.
Yeah, I have not, but I mean, we did look it over and it didn't seem
Doesn't seem.
too much. A lot of it was a lot of boilerplate,
Yeah,
info.
Harry
and then
wrote the
some-
grant for the inventory and there's a
Mhm.
lot of overlap that we're trying
okay.
to, I'll copy paste. And then a lot of the new information, if anyone would like to lend a hand, would love help.
You mean,
There's like individual questions
Yeah.
that I think we would have to come up with some,
Sure.
creative answers, but somewhat creative answers, I guess.
I also can help.
Thank you, thank you. Hey, Mike.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairperson, I do have to depart.
okay,
Do you mind if I just say a quick?
absolutely.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry, yeah, I should have introduced you and.
No, it's all good. Councilman LaBarbera, first year, supporting Shade Tree, super excited. It's really important for me, to be here because I have an affinity for this space, as Bonnie would attest to. And I'm looking forward to a productive year. I'm here as an asset, I'm here as a liaison, I'm here to empower, collaborate, and ensure transparency. So really, really excited and, looking forward to working together.
Great,
Thanks.
appreciate you coming.
Thank
So we might only one that have to depart early. I apologize. I had a previous commitment before I. Yes,
No worries.
awesome.
I
Thanks.
understand.
Appreciate
Thank you,
you.
Drew.
so the timeline, when is this supposed to be completed by, the new?
The grant or the plan?
Both.
The grant has to be in, Christie, in February?
As
Why
soon
do I
as
have-
possible.
As soon as possible, okay.
It's rolling, right?
Council's already approved us to apply for the grant,
Mhm.
so as soon as we can get it in, because the work can't start technically, or the work period until when we're awarded.
So Bill's work can't start technically until we're awarded the grant. Grant's gotta be done by the end of the year. Or, no, I'm sorry, not the
It has
grant,
to be
the plan has to
submitted.
be,
By December 1st,
okay, and then. If we
the plan.
assume, I mean, we don't get the grant, let's say we don't get the grant. We, obviously, then the town would have to. Cough up and issue a purchase order. To fund the plan,
Would come out of the shade tree
and it would
budget.
come out of our budget.
You put
But
that
we-
in the shade
but-
tree request budget.
Correct. So, but I'm just thinking, because like last year, we were operating on a temporary budget for a long time. So I'm just kind of wondering if there's anything we should be concerned about. Regarding funds. I think it's an off chance that we don't get the grant.
I thought it was a slam dunk if you got the grant. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it needs to be done regardless for us to remain accredited.
Sure,
So,
yeah, absolutely, so I
mean,
think. They're gonna find, they'll find them,
Yeah,
but I'm just wondering if. I thought the way grants worked was that. Grants were there to reimburse.
It is. a
So-
reimbursable grant.
Wouldn't the town have to issue a purchase order first?
Mhm.
Regardless of the grant status or where we are with the application. So
The council
they have to encumber the
passed a
funds.
resolution to apply for the grants, they're aware of the parameters
Okay,
at their December 16th meeting.
I thought this was a rolling grant though too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Rolling, so I know the last one, we were all waiting for like the decision day. I don't think that this one.
I said, as soon as you get an email, if you get the award, you could start like blocking all your hours right then. So it's in our best interest to submit it as soon as possible.
And not work on it beforehand, because then you can't clock the hours,
Right.
which is the match.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, do we know any towns that have just redone there and it's a good, I was kind of trying to Google that and I didn't come across anything yet, just,
I haven't looked.
is that, so we're seriously not, so we have to, anytime we work on this,
Mhm.
clock our hours.
Yep. Lawyers.
I really, we did it for the last grant and I just kept a spreadsheet and it was very straightforward. Meetings count, anytime I had a call with Nick and whatever, all the training, it wasn't hard to manage
Okay.
the match.
And how many hours do we need of volunteer?
It depends what kind of match we wanna do. Some of the hours could be in kind and some could be a match. It depends how Shade Tree wants to do it. We did
We got-
25% for the inventory grant.
I mean, we got there pretty quickly.
We got there very quickly.
Yeah,
What do you mean match? Would it be?
They match the hours that you put in. So the grant's $5,000. That would be the maximum award and that's what you're gonna apply for.
Okay.
So 25% of that amount would need to be matched and they calculate that based on a volunteer rate of $33 or whatever. And then the hours that I would put in, I'm a paid employee, those would count separately, but both have to be matched.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right, it's
Right,
matched
so I have
our
like a
hours,
form and
dollar,
spreadsheet.
okay, our hours, dollars, gotcha. Okay, all right. I feel good, I think we'll be all right. All right, move on to the green team and natural area update.
So the natural area, we just planted in December. You know, we cleaned out that area by the cell tower and it looks really awful because they cleared it out, then we had, weeds go in and treat it because there were just so many invasives. He said, you're not gonna be able to grow anything if you don't treat it, so we did. And then we just tried, we put some, evergreens and some other couple deciduous trees along the border with the church. So right now, there's the church of trees and weeds and a little mulchy path, and then we put some trees in just to try to establish a border, because we don't know what's gonna happen with the church. Like, that could be developed at some point, and then all of a sudden it's, you know, so we're just thinking ahead, start trying to put something in there so that area is popped up, so, but it ended up being perfect timing because all this rain came. I mean, here we had a drought and then we planted trees and that's been rain like crazy. So December is actually, I decided it's a good time to plant trees. Just, it's, I'm not get them in the ground before it's frozen. So, we did that and, Green Team, the sustainability, the Sustainable Jersey, certification is coming up for renewal and there are a whole bunch of tree points that you can get. Various things. And, you know, first I'm hoping like with this new inventory, that's what I was kind of asking if we could get it. If that's in place, like a more organized
It should be.
accounting.
Yeah.
what are you looking for?
Well, they had like hazard tree lists, like,
Oh, that's
I mean, Nick had a list, but he didn't really identify species
Oh,
or,
that's easy.
yeah,
It probably
Okay,
takes you
so-
like 30 seconds to get that information.
really,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So we could do all these lists.
Mhm.
You share that with us, the link.
Yeah. I'd love to see, yeah, there's reports that come out of that.
Yeah, I mean, you create. what
We
you
should
want.
have,
I was, maybe we can, at the next meeting, well, we can talk about it, but
Do a
next
demo kind of.
meeting business, yeah, but just do like a demonstration
That would be
at one of the
great.
meetings up
That'd be
on the screen.
interesting
be
to
great.
to see,
Yeah.
Yeah,
'cause
cause you can click on all the little,
then we won't ask you stupid
God.
questions, because we can,
Yes, but I think that, if it, we're gonna have to be careful what we put, like, what we query in, like, in a public forum.
okay,
oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
okay.
Yeah.
Alright, strike that idea.
Yeah.
I mean, we could do a. What could we do?
I mean, we could do
a-
we could do that, but we can't go ahead and pull up a hazard tree list.
Okay,
Right.
Like, that's just not smart.
But tree facts about our town's trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
species and things like
Yeah.
that, and
Yeah, like numbers,
Spots for-
species and.
Yeah, there was a canned report.
There was a report about that, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that stuff would be.
Yeah. Oh, it's in my email somewhere.
Mine
I'll look
too,
for it.
yeah.
all right,
That's
well, we'll think
Norway,
about them.
Norway maple's our number one tree.
I know, just kind of disappointing,
Yeah.
very disappointing.
All right, well, maybe we'll have to figure out a way to do that, maybe we could do like screenshots. Of,
Or we could do it in a,
Specific.
yeah, I mean,
or do like a workshop meeting just
Mm.
for,
right,
you know, commissioners and maybe we
I mean,
can
how many
figure that out.
people have been working, you said that 10 can, and how many in this commission, do you guys know how to do it?
just us and Christine, that's
Christie.
it. Yeah, and then,
Chris York is a user, Allison, Nick, Rich, Dave Carl. So there's a lot of employees that are taking up
Yeah.
the users.
Okay,
So then you go.
Yeah, we probably have
I don't,
10
yeah,
committed by now, right?
right, I don't think that we, as a commission, should take up any more users.
No,
No,
but we can
we could definitely share,
share the reports or whatever,
yeah. I mean,
any
I'd be
information.
happy
obviously.
to like show you sometime.
well, we definitely need, for our community forestry management plan, I mean, the black and white images, all the images in our existing one are so bad and dated, it would be great to have some maps and photographs and, you know. to
Yeah.
Implement that.
I can, obviously, I'll point it out to Bill that we have this tool now, so I'm sure he's gonna maybe a lot specific ones and then probably they'll get them. But, absolutely. All right. Anything else there, Bonnie?
I don't think so. We had a good cleanup day, but I'm very pleased about that.
No?
I think the Third Street Trail, we're trying to organize something in February. We did that once before and it worked out great. It was like just a nice winter day out in the woods. I think we're thinking about the first weekend of February. Do some work. We planted some understory in there. But the EC gave us some money at the end of the year and we ran out and bought some plants and threw them in there, so
Okay,
continue to work on that.
cool. The caution is that first week in February is our, that could be
Oh,
school
that
break,
break.
so,
The 7th to the 11th.
Yeah, I
yeah.
think it's the week
so-
before.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, the first weekend.
all right. Sounds good. That's it,
Mhm.
all right. Community outreach. We have a guy.
We broke that 200, guys.
Oh,
We're at
finally.
211.
Whose aunt or uncle signed up?
We have 211 whole followers. Actually, I'm excited about January 22nd. I'm gonna go to Knollwood and talk to the Knollwood Green Team. And they're gonna make posters. I'm gonna talk to them about what the Shade Tree Commission is and what we do and our goals. And they are going to make posters and maybe have some tree facts in there and have encouraged people to follow us on social media. And hopefully the kids and their families will follow us on social media. And then we'll put them in local businesses.
Very
Oh, you're
nice,
gonna hang up posters? Oh, good.
very cool,
And that's on January 22nd.
that's great,
That's
Good education.
right. That's all I have for community outreach.
all right.
Leah, will you be able to collect the posters by any chance?
Yes, so Cassie Untermit Conley, I can't remember if she goes by her maiden name. I think she goes by maiden. Cassie Conley is helps to run it, and she's going to. I mean, we'll both hand them out, so we'll collect them. The kids aren't going to be going from business to business, but we'll go business to business. Why do you ask? Is it so that we have the images? that they make?
Yeah, for that and take pictures while the kids are holding them. I just think it's good for our social media and then also, for our applications and whatnot. So,
Great, yeah.
and they're going to be doing another poster contest in a couple of months for Arbor Day, but unless we decide not to do it this year, but it always seems like it's a pretty good thing.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Yeah.
Um. okay.
Maybe remind them that there's a poster contest coming up in for Arbor Day too.
Mhm.
Big,
What do
big
we have?
cash,
Yeah. Big prizes, big prizes.
big prize.
Get some more people. We had like 6 last year.
Something like that.
You should see. if we
Actually,
can-
some grades are better than others.
Art class.
They should do an
We
art
should do
class.
it in art class.
That's a good idea, yeah. Just
The art
do
teacher,
it.
put the art
yeah.
teachers in
Just ask
charge.
the art teacher.
Yeah,
Do you want me to ask the art teacher?
yes.
It's a
yeah.
great
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, all right, it's on my list.
And everyone listens.
Then we might have too many to vote on.
Right?
It'd be difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll do that. Email Mr. Fud.
Great idea.
That's for Arbor Day. Posters.
Correct.
We'll give them ample notice.
Yeah, we'll probably start the contests, I would say late March, and then submissions on Arbor Day which would be the last Friday in April.
Okay. Cool.
All right, then we'll, calendar updates. Peter is not here. Obviously, we know about Arbor Day. Was there anything else that anybody can think of, something random that we didn't discuss already? Keep talking about calendar dates and issues. He's got
And we
a
have
pretty
the resident
populated.
tree buying program.
Yep, that's coming up in,
Oh, you know what I was wanting to I mean, Burnbrook did the planting out of the cell tower. They're the ones, so we ordered all the trees from. We're also gonna use them in the bird sanctuary. We're planning on doing some understory, so we're giving Burnbrook a lot of.
Lot of
business.
biz?
I've been talking to Kevin a lot.
nice.
Yeah, so
But, may I ask, what are we doing about the deer if we're planting understory?
well, we have to fence. So the forest health survey that the council approved is, the DEP is just holding it up. We haven't done it yet. But that'll also be something to put in our community forestry management plan. The results of that, I think, would be an important thing for our forest health, right? With all our,
Okay, getting a little off topic. We were on calendar update.
I know, sorry. What was the point? Oh, I was talking about the resident tree buying program.
Yeah, yeah,
So, is that on the calendar?
that is.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
That's what I was just saying.
Alrighty. But anything else that we haven't covered? I know without the column. Christy, do you have access to Peter's calendar?
No.
Does he? Okay, he keeps it under lock and key. Alright, alright, well, if anything comes up, we'll leave it on for next meeting, of course. Tree removal permit data. Christie,
There you go. I did a little summary comparing.
Did we count how many trees came down last year?
Yeah.
good.
Don't look.
I know, I'm gonna cry. But it was-
Um.
It's so quiet. Is it bad?
That's awful.
If you look at replacements mandated versus tree removed, the ones that are mandated, Chrissy, the ones that are mandated, those would have been good trees, so.
Yeah.
The difference between the 275 and the 93,
They're all hazard?
those are hazards,
Is
so.
that really true?
Yeah.
Well, according to Sherry, she's the one that has to approve all the hazards. So, I mean, that wasn't,
If you look at the data pages behind it, you'll see the causes and a lot of them do say that it's disease.
It's just not,
Has anybody applied
it's
under,
not bad.
under the new ordinance?
Yes, 2 people.
Which ones are they?
They're, well, in 21 and 25, so they're not on here, this list is
24.
for all. of
Ended 2024.
How many trees were tested? Do you know?
One,
Okay. Were they ill or they just were asking for it?
Cher hasn't looked at it yet,
Oh,
we just
okay.
got them in.
Okay.
5 denials and then,
Look, the denial saved 1 tree
yeah,
because
yeah.
they didn't apply
4
for the
appeals granted and then they just,
Yeah.
same as the year before, really,
Yeah.
but different number. 10 granted and 1 no. So really.
And so what we should have under that is tree planting data.
That would be replacements.
Yeah,
That number is
replacements.
replacements.
replacements mandated. And then is share responsible?
So
for
these
making
are,
sure that
like,
they
these are the
were
replacements
actually
of all the ones that, all the
It's really
permits.
on the resident.
And do we
There
know?
was 131 in this year, trees removed 275. The difference between the replacements mandated and the trees removed, those, that's all hazard.
Right, but I get, so I'm just saying,
2,
if you, isn't our goal to trees removed, trees planted to pass that? Isn't that our goal? As a
Yeah.
shade tree commission?
Yeah,
sure, yeah,
right.
So I'm just saying, trees planted,
oh, yeah,
right, but,
as another line item
yeah,
going forward,
yes.
Yeah.
And it should be really big,
it should be really big,
really big.
really, really big.
But that would include the resident tree buying program and I don't know, what else?
All the,
No, it can't include the resident tree buying program. Oh, yes, it can. Never mind, sorry.
Yeah, because
Yes,
that, those would
'cause it's
be
resident,
right
yeah,
on the,
that's resident,
right on
yeah.
the private property, so.
So I think it
yeah.
was, I don't remember what the numbers were.
I have, I. clicked
Between
on
the spring
data
and
for
fall
the,
planting,
Yeah.
Tree City USA and NJUCF annual accreditations that are due in the beginning of February, I reach out to like natural areas, reach everyone to tell me.
Yeah,
Nick, and then I aggregate all the data because they need it for your annual accreditation, so I can share that with you when I get it from everybody.
That is the resident tree buying?
No, it's all public tree.
Because this is all private,
That's
so
all
this is
private.
really resident tree
resident tree
buying.
buying. So
that
let's
was
just think,
50.
50 and like 30 or something,
Yeah, I
like
feel
that.
like
Something like
I-
80
I-
trees planted in those 2
Let me see if I
plantings.
could find my little.
so if the natural area planted all those trees, does that count toward our? You want
For your
record of-
accreditation, yeah, I
Yeah.
asked Carolyn, I asked you guys, I
Yeah.
asked everybody, yeah.
So the spring one had 52 trees planted. After like fall was like 28,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
it started slow, but then it picked up at the end.
Yeah.
80. Big guess.
Needs to be better. We need
Gotta start
Yeah,
somewhere.
28.
net gain.
Net gain, we're
Yeah.
working towards it.
Goal.
A couple years ago, that net gain was, there was no net gain. Here
So-
we are.
If you read that community forestry management plan, it is so, it's great, but I don't think there's any part of it that we're really adhering to. And I feel like that should be a part of this new plan, is really having a way that we are looking at this thing every meeting. We are using it as our Bible, right?
The plan
Mhm.
and the data. compared.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, 'cause that's supposed, that's not supposed to be, that's supposed to be like a living, breathing.
exactly,
Yeah.
not on a shelf
Yeah.
somewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do that updated one. That's what we'll. We'll be the keeper, the Bible.
The Bible.
All right. Oh. tree ordinance appendix A review. Here we are. Tommy, do you have anything to say? So the appendix A obviously was, I guess it was I'll call it a point of contention. It was, there was some question as to whether or not there were trees that were linked to, or in that link, that were not necessarily
Shrubs.
shade trees, they
They're
were
shrubs.
shrubs. But in the ordinance, it does explain what is considered a proper replacement for any tree that's taken down under the ordinance. So I guess the question is, do we want to come up with a like a concrete list? Or do we want to just keep that link as our recommendations? But make sure people know that, or understand that a shrub or I know a rhododendron or something, that doesn't meet the standards it's spelled out in the ordinance.
Right, so right now it's that list that the lawyer put together, right? What her name is.
No, it was actually linked to,
Yeah,
the
to
website,
ours,
yeah.
yeah, which didn't make, because that wasn't complete, I mean, that, so the question, do we have a recommended list?
right, that's
And then
a
do we
recommended.
have a don't plant these list, we want to do that too, like,
Well, yeah, we can get there, but I mean, I want to address the appendix that we
Right.
had in place, because that was where we were gonna opine on, what we want. Or what we should recommend as
Do we-
replacements.
we have a copy of that, like we could put, I just want to make sure.
It's the last few pages of the ordinance. I attached it to the email.
Oh, to the-
I'm trying to open it.
Let's see.
It's my understanding that the ordinance is not requiring people to plant from the appendix, like, it's just a recommendation.
Right.
Okay, and then the appendix lists, if I remember correctly, again, it's questionable, it does break it out like shade trees
Mhm.
and evergreens and
Right.
shrubs.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I don't know why someone would be confused by that. I mean,
No, I agree with
Yeah.
you, but it was like an issue towards the end.
yeah, I remember the guy that was a
Yeah,
landscaper in
we
here, like,
passed
talking about it,
the-
yeah.
Yep. And the ordinance went through, but there was still a lot of contention
Yeah,
with the appendix, so I just thought we'd put it on there for a
okay.
quick discussion.
yeah,
I mean, if you really do take the time to read the ordinance,
nobody reads anything.
and nobody does, right? It does explain, like, if you take down a tree that's X, width or, diameter, you have to replace it with another tree, X diameter, breast height, or caliper, whatever you wanna call it. So it would just eliminate it, and it does say recommendations, shade trees, recommendations, they're not, set in stone. If somebody,
no,
I mean, ideally, we,
the thing that you're worried about is a developer putting in some really crappy tree. It's a tree, but they're the only ones I'm really worried about putting in something.
when you say
like-
crap, like
Like a black,
non-native
like
or
a black
something like that,
locust or something, yeah,
okay.
like a. Or, I don't know, I mean, and wanna make sure it's from a reputable nursery and it's in good shape and all that, and. And then, I don't know, how do we? Keep track of the state of those trees, those replacement trees, that they're being taken care of and they didn't die after a year and.
Well, that's getting off the appendix.
That is
I mean,
getting off the
that's- yeah,
appendix,
that's-
but-
That's a whole,
I'm
But
looking at
enforcement.
this now, this doesn't have the shrubs in it anymore.
Okay, so they took them out.
It only has shade trees, evergreens, and like smaller understory trees.
Well, and he's also saying, you take down a 100-year-old oak and then you put in a dogwood, that's, I think, one of the things that, Bill Perkins was saying, like, is that the same? It's not, the dogwood is not a shade tree. A service, but, they're
Right.
not shade trees, you're not,
That's on here as a recommended, but that's a small,
yeah,
that can
Ornamental.
also be like, that's the right tree for the place the right tree, right
Yeah.
place, like if that's a smaller. The tree
yeah.
died because it was in the wrong place and this is the right.
Yeah, I agree. Remember, this is a recommended list and, you know, we want to obviously give the homeowner and resident some freedom in what they choose. And I agree with Jill, like sometimes the tree is removed, but sometimes they're not spaced because of building constraints that they can't put in a larger shade tree. So I would like to keep, I think the spirit of this appendix is recommendation, but not adherence.
That's, sorry to butt in, guys. That is correct, what Mike just said. We can't overstep the ordinance and dictate to people what exact trees they put on their own property. However, I think a lot of people will look to be educated by the Shade Tree Commission. And you guys have the, as I recall it, you have the authority to change that list if you want to. So if you want to guide residents towards trees that you think are healthier for the borough of Fairhaven, I certainly encourage you to do that. And thank you everyone for serving again this year and for the great accomplishments in 2024. Happy 2025 to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we wouldn't be out of line if we decided to put in some wording there that, you know, in addition to the recommended tree list, that we also recommend that if you are taking down a shade tree, that a shade tree is used as a replacement and that it should be native. And we could maybe even put a quick note in there.
Well, it does say that
Because
this is recommended that are acceptable to be planted as replacement trees. That kind of. The Fairhaven Shade Tree Commission has provided this list of recommended trees that are acceptable to be planted as replacement trees, but there's no shrubs on this list.
Okay. I
And
think
it says approved list of replacement tree species and planting standards for the borough of Fairhaven.
is that the list or is that the link?
That's the list. That's right in the appendix. A.
Right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that, Chrissy, can you put that back up there?
Oh,
Thank you. Yeah, so I think that maybe we should just take, I mean, it could be real simple. We just take the link out. Would we be, because I think the link, if you can go to the link, you go to the link and then it'll pull up that whole list. It's still broken out shade trees, evergreens and ornamentals, but after that, I think it gets into bushes and,
Yeah.
you know, shrubs.
So just have this.
Just have what's up here.
or someone be responsible for them.
I mean, I think a link is helpful, just,
That's why,
you know,
why don't we have
stay in
two
age.
links? Why don't we have another link that just links that supports the appendix? And then whatever that link is, that's like all things that we would recommend planting in Fairhaven, like including shrubbery. Right? Is that was the thing that you and Mark
Yeah,
worked
we're
on?
doing- we basically just, picked out trees that were here, that were native and
Yeah.
recommend them and told people a little bit about them. I mean, 'cause that's his planting.
So could you have a separate page on that website that has like the appendix? I don't remember what that's like, I apologize.
Yeah, no,
I mean, if we
Yeah.
wanted to,
Picture
if we
of
wanted
trees,
to manage this.
right up
but-
on each one of them.
So this is the.
that's what,
Yeah.
that's, See, you're so good.
It really is.
She is, zip, zip, zip.
Mr. Halpern has his hand up again.
Oh.
Just,
It's Mayor Halpern.
Yeah, that time was a mistake. Sorry, guys.
I'll leave you there in case you have a comment, but this was the website.
mhm.
So this is just linking,
It just tells you a
I
little
think
more
that this
about
could be
them.
confusing.
Yeah. Well, maybe you say, here's appendix A, this is recommended list, and then if you want to learn more about individual trees.
I
go
don't
to
know.
this, or-
I think that's confusing because this is definitely gonna tell you about things that we would, like, that wouldn't be approved, right? If you keep going.
Well, we could just take, just have Mark take off the shrubs.
Just take off the shrubs and
Yeah.
then our problem solved.
Yeah, but I mean, is this link live for other reference?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't wanna,
See what
Yeah,
you're
take
saying.
it away
That's what I was
from
saying,
somebody
maybe
else.
like, can he add a page on that on that website that just is the appendix, like is the, you know, literally appendix A, and that if we wanted to modify things there, would he be willing to like do that for us? Like if we wanted to add a tree or take away a tree that's existing on this, you know, on, you know, that list, which is literally just like a list that could be referencing like the tree ordinance, Fairhaven
Yeah.
tree ordinance recommended list, like could that
Yeah,
be?
recommended.
Hmm.
Could we not just say,
Or
please refer to the shade tree section of the link below, or?
or can we just have it on linked on our section of the borough website?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That would probably be
So
a
here's
more
something.
efficient way.
Or just say, I mean,
It
if
is.
you go up to the, say, shrubs, disclaimer, not recommended as replacement.
You
So,
don't wanna do that, you don't wanna
Yeah.
mess with this thing.
No,
It is lovely.
we didn't.
yeah,
Right, on the mark about the. List.
simpler is better, I think, we either,
Move the
Come
link
up-
for now or something. don't you
yeah,
think? Like
take the
just-
link off, and then
But
we have the list
the
with
list
no
that-
shrubs
Yeah.
on it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
okay.
eliminate any gray area.
Okay.
Alright.
yeah, that works for a little while.
Christie, how do we get that done? Is that something you can do? or-
I will speak to Allison about that.
Okay.
You want to eliminate the link of appendix A, so it'll be up to the attorney, I assume. to
Oh, yeah,
discuss
and then
if there's
maybe-
change.
And then just, you know, please see below our recommendations, for shade tree replacements.
So keep the list as
Keep,
is,
keep the,
remove the link.
correct,
And that verbiage, approved list of replacement tree species and planting standards. The Fairhaven Shade Tree Commission has provided this list of recommended trees that are acceptable to be planted as replacement trees. But obviously, they have to also coincide with the replacement criteria listed in that table A.
sure. And then maybe a note in there about, in addition, they should, any replacement should be native trees.
Should, and that'll be like lawyers.
Must.
Well, again, I mean, it's recommendations, so I don't know if we can, you know,
Well, if they're just going off that list, then
then we're good.
we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Testing the waters.
There's a, yeah. There's a lot to choose from there. I mean, if somebody wants something else, they're gonna call and ask, or they're just gonna find.
Extended trailer. Trees.
I guess also, just thinking about this, I'm sorry to belabor this, is that. When we have the resident tree buying program, it's not necessarily trees on this list. So, and we count those and we promote that as a way to replace your trees. So I think we have to be really crystal clear that this is a recommend, this is what we're recommending.
It's recommendations.
Yeah, but you know,
Cause then then we're promoting all these other,
But
right, correct.
according to Kevin, we could have more input into what we want. He said, I will give you what you want on that resident tree buying. So.
Is that
but
because we've been ordering enough trees?
I think so.
Well, maybe we'll have more leverage now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yes.
Yeah.
We definitely have been, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't wanna like open up another subject. Yes,
Yes.
perhaps we will. Let's just leave it at that.
yes, I like
Um,
that. And then it's, when do the orders come in? April, March, late March?
Last year we planted in May
Yeah.
and the orders were due in beginning of April, maybe.
Yeah, okay,
Something like that. So I'm scheduled to talk to Tanya like in 2 weeks their way.
okay,
So that's on my list. So we could put that on. We could put it on the next
talk
meeting,
about,
yeah.
Last year, the orders were taken March 4th to 25th, and the trees were planted midnight.
Okay.
In actuality, it's probably late. I feel like they.
Right, I feel like they were like, yeah, so.
get a rainy day.
That'd be nice.
That's all for the appendix for now. I can leave it on the agenda for next meeting. Just in case
Okay.
we'll revisit, just, to review. Obviously, Councilman LaBarbera left, so we will move on to proposed new agenda items.
I have two.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
One, I propose that we, amend the pre-permit, like paperwork, I kind of, do that.
I don't know what you're gonna say.
That's okay.
Wrong
You
lady.
guys, it's past my bedtime, I'm brain dead at this point. So I was thinking about how it is, up to every resident what they want to do with their own property. But a lot of people don't understand that we have poor air quality, and they don't understand like how important trees are necessarily. So I was thinking, apparently there's a carbon capture calculator. And there are multiple online, you can go find one, you can Google it, you can find one. And you basically type the type of tree and its age. And it will give you an estimate of how much carbon it captures in a year. So, for example, I put in the tree my grandpa planted, it's like 35-ish years old, right? You know the tree.
The red oak.
The red oak. And so I put it in, and it came back at 3.25 pounds of carbon a year at 35 years old. So I was like, oh, I wonder what it would be after 99 years. And it was 325 pounds. It was like, or no, I'm sorry, I lied. It was 92.5 pounds. But it's like it's a steep change, like it's exponential, right? The difference in carbon capture. So if my 35-year-old tree, which is pretty significant on my property, only captures 3.25, but it in 60 years captures 92, like that's a huge difference. And I had no idea. So while we are encouraging people like, hey, cut down what you want and replant, if my 35-year-old tree is only capturing 3 pounds, like it has to be almost negligible. And it's not to say that it's not important for us to plant, it absolutely is. But maybe if I was deciding to cut down a tree because I didn't want to have leaves in my pool, and when I went to apply, I saw that, that it captures 95 pounds of carbon a year, and it's in my yard protecting my house, my air quality, I may change my mind. It's still their decision. It's just that they're informed. And so I asked Christy if it was going to be particularly onerous, because I was thinking about like administratively, like how difficult is it if Sherry's going out there to determine the tree type and, giving that information. If it would be that difficult to just add like a spot on the application that shows them the estimated carbon capture for the tree that they're taking down. It's still their decision. It's just that they're informed.
I think there's you
Interesting.
could expand that to like, groundwater, like there's a lot of ways to
Yes.
put value on a tree.
Yeah.
Like a dollar value and air quality value and, yeah.
So that was my proposal. So we look more into that.
And put it on the
Valid.
application.
On the application, like, yes, sorry. That's something that we could do with relative ease, right?
You mean amending the application?
Yes.
It is not difficult to do. It would really be a question for Sherry, if that's something she's willing to do as part of her scope.
Okay,
So she would be, obviously I can do the math and on
It's
the
just like
back
a
end, it's
calculation,
just, she would be identifying the species, the approximate age, and that's it?
That's it.
Those are the only two variables?
yeah.
you guys are all in consensus, we can talk to Sherry about it.
I guess I don't understand, that's after the fact though, isn't it, when somebody's,
When they're applying?
So
Sherry doesn't look at it until, they won't get that information until they're approved.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you, I think you were thinking of something like almost like a note about the specific tree that they wanna take down when they apply, right? That says, hey, you're about to take down a tree that does X, Y, and Z,
Yeah.
right? So one of the things I was thinking about for a new agenda item and something we could take on this year is, you know, one of the things we keep talking about, and Bonnie, you keep talking about it, is education, right? And especially with the new ordinance now in effect, I was trying to think of a way to promote the idea that, you know, trees are kind of a, you know, should be considered a sacred thing around here. You know, we understand that, like, they're on your property, you're gonna take them down, but understand what you're doing, essentially. And I was thinking of a plan where, and we could start off, you know, kind of small, see how it works. Come up with like a signage plan that we could have in place. I was thinking about, you know, a sign, you know, kind of like a, whatever, like an open house sign or something like that, but like the political signs you see all over the place.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just says, you know, whatever, something about the tree, like, hey, don't, you know, think before you cut me down, whatever. And then maybe having a QR code, little scanning thing, and it'll, I don't know how easy this is, I don't know about too much about this stuff, but if it could bring you, if someone puts this in their yard by the big trees that they have maybe in their yard. And we have these all throughout town, people come and take these things, we could have them here at Borough Hall, people can just pick them up. We could maybe even take a handful and hand them out for people who want to. Put them in their yard next to whatever tree they think is significant in their yard. People walking by, maybe, who knows, they'll boom, scan it and go, what is this all about? And then it comes up with all these facts, like, not necessarily about that specific tree, because I think that might become a little too cumbersome, but with things that say like, did you know a tree that is 20 years old cleans this much, takes up this much groundwater, takes up this, that, and the other thing, helps with all this stuff. A tree that's 30 years old, 40 years old, and so on and so forth. Just simple bullet point, boom, 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 and start promoting the idea that really, you know, trees aren't necessarily just in your way when you're doing a renovation or you want to do a garage or something like that. There's a more significant purpose for these trees, so at least give it some more consideration. All right, yeah, I got Bonnie's approval. Right out of the gate.
I'm so happy.
Good, you're in charge.
Well, you know, what, if you wanted to do something, during Earth Week and, you know, Arbor Day, like, that would be a kind of a fun activity, and going into Knollwood, those kids just love the idea of having little projects, if they could, you know. I know we're not big on signs going up everywhere, but it's kind of a cool thing to say what a tree does, even if you just picked some. It'd be nice to pick some really big special trees places and just say, you know,
Well, we could,
Arbor Day fun fact or something, or
Right.
Earth Week, you know, appreciate your tree week or
Yeah.
something.
I wasn't thinking about it as, you know, tying it to a specific date like Arbor Day. I mean, I think it should be just something that is,
Think
you
about
know,
it.
constant, right? Cause, you know, I don't know, certain dates, they usually get Earth Day, Arbor Day, all this stuff, everybody's getting peppered with all kinds of, like, you know, save the earth info. I think eventually it just becomes too much, it becomes overload on specific dates, so I think if it's just something that's just a constant, you know, and I don't know how much these signs cost, I'll look into them, they can't be that much, I'm sure we can,
they're about like $12 a sign.
$12 a sign. All right, so even if we start off with, you know, like 100, 200 signs
You would need
And-
council approval if you want to put them.
on public
Unless
property.
they're in your private yard.
Right. I was thinking more private, but I guess, then there are some significant areas that we, in parks.
Like McCarter Park
And McCarter Park,
has
of course.
huge trees, yeah.
You know, I,
Mrs. Schwartz would love that,
sure,
calculating the benefit of those trees in
So it
McCarter
could
Park.
be like, yeah, that could be like, you could rope in, that could be like a math project,
Yeah,
or.
Calculating all the,
so. We'll put that on the agenda for further discussion.
What do
I'll
you
look
call
into
that?
signs.
Arbor Day,
Calculate-
Earth Week education.
Yeah.
awareness.
tree benefits, trees.
Resident education program.
Yeah.
That sounds stupid, somewhat, but,
Yes,
Yeah, just-
you could see how that you could even go into like a tree pledge or something like that, where somebody would take ownership of like a tree in their yard that they pledge not to, to take care of it or something like that, and like QR codes associated with that, like, yeah, there's a lot of ways you could spin that.
yeah. But I'm just trying to think of ways to create an awareness, like get ahead of it, just so people just start thinking along the lines of like, don't just take down trees.
Right.
They're not in the way. Yes. In some instances, they could be an issue. They could be a hazard. They could be a legitimate hazard. But in many cases, let's,
They're just living
think
their
before
life.
we chop them down. Sure.
I have, my second proposed agenda item may dovetail nicely with our fact-finding missions.
Okay.
I reached out to the environmental scientist that lives in town, and she is available, she believes, for our next meeting. If we wanted to invite her to talk a little bit about, the data, about our air quality.
Mm.
So I don't know what you guys think, but I think that would be
Could you
valuable.
even publicize it, and then if people wanted to come and hear her, they could come to the shade tree meeting?
It's gonna be on the
Be on the
agenda.
agenda.
I know. Do people really?
Could we, should we invite the environmental commission?
That would be good idea too, sure.
I'm just trying to think about how that would, that would be something I would recommend that, in that case, we almost clear the agenda then,
Yeah.
because,
We'll
Yeah.
just talk about it.
I just think that.
unless we're gonna say, all right, she's gonna come in and speak for 10 minutes or 15 minutes.
I mean,
Maybe you ask her.
I'll ask her what she's comfortable doing,
Okay,
because, I don't know how, how much she wants to say or do. She doesn't usually get involved in the muckety muck, but she said, please, for the love of God, don't take down the trees.
Mm.
Because she said our air quality is like scary. So, I think that having her early in this year would be beneficial to us because we are trying to make these efforts to educate our citizenry. But if she has data that we don't necessarily have a lot of knowledge about, then maybe that will be good foundation for us.
okay.
So,
Is this what does she
she does this
lecture?
for a
or-
living. I don't know. I know that she travels to, like, she's like, oh, I'm so in such place because there are forest fires. I'm testing the air quality. So,
That's what she does.
That's what she does.
Test air quality.
yeah.
I was just thinking of a way to make it like more open to everybody as opposed to having it at a meeting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that sounds like almost something like, we're going to thing at Monmouth University. I mean, it would be a smaller scale, of
I-
course, but
I
I'm just worried about like, she'll come here, we'll put it on the agenda, we could easily put it in the. I guess, could we put something like that in the buzz? I guess, even though it's just a meeting, but again,
I wanna gauge her comfort level with speaking to a bunch of people. Or
okay, yeah, I
commission.
mean, maybe she just.
I was like
it
trying
would
to
be-
warm her up by being like, hey, like, would you just
There's-
tell us and inform us and see, what she's comfortable with. If she is, I would love for her to talk to a bunch of people, but I also don't want to force her to do anything she's not comfortable with.
Okay.
I need to gauge that. The problem is, we both work and we both have parents. We're both parents and our kids are always sick. And we're just like trying to get in the same place at the same time to have.
If it does speak at a meeting, it's also recorded, so there would be a recording of
Mm,
her.
that's fair.
So you wanna reach out to her and
Yeah.
tell her, gauge her,
Yeah.
and tell her what Christie said too about the recording, is a
Mhm.
good point, and then, you know, you wanna email me and Christie?
Email you and Christine.
Sure.
Noted. Okay.
Anything else? Any other new agenda items, new business?
That would be for February 5th. Yeah.
Yeah, she's checking her travel schedule, but she believes that she will be here that day. She's gonna confirm with me tomorrow. Um,
Yeah, and then we'll just have to figure it out, because I wouldn't wanna have like a whole bunch of agenda items. and then
yeah, no,
never
that's fair.
speak, Right?
No, it's a very valid point.
So-
I'm just like in my opinion, that I would like to have this information sooner than later.
Mhm.
That's okay.
Yeah. No, sounds interesting.
Students bicentennial hall and community center will be open.
Well, whatever, when is that gonna be done? That keeps getting kicked down the road too.
Crazy. My friend lives in Scottsdale, non sequitur, and the numbers were over 1,000 today. Which is like, like, for like the parts per million.
Oh.
For.
Oh, air
for
quality.
police and-
Blowing down.
Is that from the fire?
I don't know, I mean, her
Mm.
son like went outside for just 2 minutes.
It'd be so
That's
interesting to take an air quality in like the middle of the natural area and then like on River Road or something.
Well, you
and
know-
See.
So she lives outside of Scottsdale, and she's like, if you look at the map, Scottsdale, Arizona is the only place with trees and grass, and it's green there, but everywhere else was like
Mm.
dark purple, which is like the worst. And she said it's the only place with trees.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, if there are no new agenda items, we'll move on to public comment. Is anyone here for public comment? Christie, do we have anybody?
Susan's here.
Susan?
She's shaking her head.
Not tonight.
Okay,
Mayor.
Happy to have you.
Comments? Mayor's the only, public.
I've got nothing.
all righty. Thank you, Mayor, for coming. Then I will, make a motion to adjourn. Meeting is adjourned. First meeting of 2025 in the books.
Not really 25.
Yikes.
Bye-bye.
Just recording stuff.
Bye, Mike.
Toodles.